Well, according to this clock, it's now 6 o'clock, which means it is time to begin the meeting. So I want to call the meeting to order. And we'll begin with a roll call, please, Joey.
Director Bender,
Here.
President Beitman,
Here.
Director Couch,
Here.
Director Mayo,
Present.
Director Orsini.
Here. Thank you, everyone. It's time for the Pledge of Allegiance. David, would you lead us in that, please? Thank you. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Everybody has a copy of the agenda. And at this point, I'll call for additions or changes. And I think, Joey, you suggested that there might be a change to some portion of the agenda.
That will come at the consent calendar.
Okay, so we'll get that.
So there are no additions or changes to the agenda.
Okay, all right. No additions or changes. Thank you, Pat. With that, I'll call for a motion for the approval of the
Move
agenda.
to approve the agenda.
Second.
Second.
And
Oh, somebody do it?
I beat you to it.
Oh, you're quick.
Joey, if you'd call the roll, please.
Director Bender,
Yes.
President Beitman,
Yes.
Director Couch,
Yes.
Director Mayo,
Yes.
Director Orsini.
Yes.
And closed session discussion. Is this mine or yours, Pat?
There are no closed session discussions tonight.
Thank you. Public hearing? Have we any public hearing tonight?
No public hearing tonight.
Thank you very much. Public comment and written communication. Any person may address the board at this time upon any subject not identified on this agenda, but within the jurisdiction of the McKinleyville Community Services District. However, any matter that requires action will be referred to staff for a report of action at a subsequent committee or board meeting. As to matters on the agenda, an opportunity will be given to address the board when the matter is considered. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Letters should be used for complex issues. Is there anyone who wishes to make public comment? Okay. We have none. So we will move to the consent calendar. Items on the consent calendar are generally considered to be non-controversial and are acted on as a group. Does anybody wish to withdraw any item from the consent calendar?
I would like to pull item D1, please.
Item D1. We will act on item D1 separately then. And the item D1 is the minutes of the regular meeting on March 5th. Okay. Anything else that we would like to withdraw from the consent calendar?
I'll move the remainder of the consent calendar.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Joey, would you call it?
Director Bender,
Yes.
Director Beitman,
Yes.
Director Couch,
Yes.
Director Mayo,
Yes.
Director Orsini.
Yes.
Okay, so we have approval of the consent calendar with the exception of item D1, which has been withdrawn to be acted upon separately. And I'd like to move to that item at this point so that we can complete the work on the consent calendar. And Joey, you said there was that there was an issue that we should discuss. And what is it, please?
Yes, thank you, President Beitman. So on attachment 1 on page 12 of your packet, under active committee reports, item F, item G, the McKinleyville Municipal Advisory Committee. It's written that Director Orsini gave report out of the February McMack meeting. That was actually Director Binder. So that will need to be corrected to Director Binder. And that is all.
Okay, and which item is that again, please?
That is attachment 1, item F, G. On page 12.
Oh, I'll find it. There it is. F. 3, no. D, is it?
It's right here.
Right, there it is.
That should be me.
FG. And that should be corrected to show that Director Binder gave the report instead of Director Orsini.
Correct.
Is that correct?
I move to approve the item corrected attachment 1, item F.
I'll second that.
Okay. And may we have a vote, please?
Director Binder,
Yes.
President Beitman,
Yes.
Director Couch,
Yes.
Director Mayo,
Yes.
Director Orsini.
Yes.
And that completes our work on the consent calendar. From there, we move to continued and new business. And the first item there is to discuss and consider approval of an organization chart revision to add environmental programs coordinator to the organization chart.
No, we're on E1 on page.
E1, I'm
59.
sorry, E1 on page 10 of our.
Page 3.
Page 3. I'm getting so lost, guys. I'm sorry. All right, that sounds better. I knew that there was something very important and I think that didn't sound like it. All right. Item E1. Consider adoption of resolution 2025-08. Recognizing, honoring, and commending Jens Anderson for 20 years of service. And this is being presented by, where are we?
Me,
Kirsten.
Kirsten?
Yeah.
Are you going to do this,
I
Kirsten?
am.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Please.
All right. Tonight, we have the privilege of recognizing and honoring Jens Anderson for 20 years of dedicated service to the McKinleyville Community Services District in the Parks and Recreation Department. Over the past 2 decades, Jens has been an integral part of our community, making a lasting impact through his commitment to providing quality recreational opportunities for residents of all ages. As our recreation coordinator, Jens has played a pivotal role in organizing and managing our youth and adult sports programs, whether it's coordinating leagues, ensuring smooth operations, or fostering a positive environment for participants. His efforts have enriched the lives of countless community members. In addition to sports programming, Jens oversees our pickleball drop-in sessions and classes, as well as the birthday party program, bringing joy and a sense of community to families and individuals alike. Most recently, Jens has taken on the additional responsibility of helping facilitate public meetings for the McKinleyville Community Forest. On a personal note, it has been an absolute pleasure working alongside Jens for 11 of his 20 years with the district. His dedication, collaborative spirit, and positive attitude make him not only an exceptional colleague, but also a valued member of our community. Attached for the Board of Directors review is Resolution 2025-08, recognizing, honoring, and commending Jens Anderson for 20 years of service. Please join us in presenting Jens Anderson with the resolution and the Longevity Award acknowledging his continued outstanding contributions to the McKinleyville Community Service District. Staff recommends that the Board of Directors participate in the presentation, air questions, take public comment, and adopt Resolution 2025-08 honoring Jens Anderson for 20 years of service at the McKinleyville Community Services District.
Point of order, would it be okay for me to make the motion and then have comments, or are we gonna have comments first and then the motion?
That's president.
Let's. Are you ready for comments? Let's do the comments
Okay,
and then the motion.
okay, sounds good.
Members of the
Oh,
board,
you want me to start?
please do.
Okay. Hey, Jens, how's it going? Congratulations. I remember when you first started working for the district. When I was reviewing my board pack, I was like 20 years, holy mackerel, I'm getting old. But anyway, about you. I always enjoyed our conversations that we had in the office. I tried to pass through every so often and say hi to everybody, and you were always receptive and appreciated the conversations we had, and I always appreciated conversations I had with you too. You've worked at many different levels and you've done a lot of things, and I just always appreciated how diligent you were and how conscientious you were when you're getting ready to do leagues. It was, I know things were crazy when you're getting ready for all the league stuff going on, and you just cared so much about the kids and making sure that their experiences are good experiences and that. So I just want to recognize that you epitomize service to the community for a group of people or a demographic in the community that might not necessarily be recognized as customers of McKinleyville Community Services District, but we definitely serve them. And I want to thank you very much for what you do for the kids, whether it's the basketball or all the other different sports leagues that we do. So thank you very much. And thank you very much for your service to the community.
My turn. Hey, Jens, congratulations. Amazing how fast it goes. Day by day, it's a toil, but year by year it blows by. And I appreciate our friendship, on the personal level. It's been, you're a good guy. I won't say that in public again, but you're anyway. But mostly to pick up on what Greg said, it's so apparent how much you care about the kids and the move, how it moves along, and the effort that you put into it. We all see that, and it means a lot. And on another level, when we are in committees together, you're always prepared, and you bring a kind of a quiet strength into our meetings, which I really appreciate. So congratulations.
That's good.
Well, congratulations on your 20 years. Thank you for sticking around for a little bit more. And I recall my longest full-time job was 23 years. Those 23 years went by like a snap because I loved what I did. I was good at doing what I did. And when that time came to an end, I was pretty sad about that. And if your experience is like mine, then that 20 years just seems like it was yesterday. I appreciate what you do, not only in the district to help perpetuate the culture in your department, but also what you do out with the participants in your groups and with the staff that you work with in order to make things better for all of us. Thank you.
I was going to say, we're honoring you for 20 years. I just say, I hope you can make another 20 years, but I hope you make at least another 10. Because when you get to that PERS thing, the more years you got, the better it is. So. That's all. Thank you.
Mhm. Jensen, I want to offer a personal and warm thank you. When I first stumbled in the door at MCSD, looking around, trying to find out where I was and what this position was that I had agreed to, the smiling face that greeted me was yours, and you made me feel so welcome and so at ease. And that has continued. And as I've watched you work in the various ways that you do, I've just been so pleased with your warmth, your genuineness, your caring. And I think I don't think it's, you're doing your job, although it's a very important part of your job. I think it's just you being you, and it's just fabulous. And thank you so much. Any other comments?
Yeah, I just have one more thing before.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, Jens, it came to me. I wish I'd have been a little bit more prepared, but interacting with the parents, I know when during basketball a few times that the parents can be a problem, and I admired the way that you handled that and kept a good perspective related to making sure that the kids' experience wasn't goofed up by their parents overzealousness. And so thank you very much for that, because that was something very important that really struck me, that you were able to navigate that and make sure that, that the parents behave themselves, when it came to dealing with the referees and the coaches and stuff like that. So thank you about that too.
Thank you. Pat, please.
Gents, as we peek around Norman's head. Also very much appreciate always your positive attitude and smiling face. And I challenge anyone, if you need a pick me up, go ask Jens how either the softball league or the basketball league is going, and he'll enthusiastically talk to you for 20 minutes on how great his job is and how great everything's going. And so thank you very much for all of that and for your enthusiasm.
It's hard for me to add. It took a lot for me to type this up and put all the words in the right places. Jens, it really is a pleasure to be your coworker. And then now in our my new role to be able to supervise you. Yeah, you're pleasant, you're hardworking. You can relate to any random person who walks through our door in some way. You somehow can relate to their hometown or have some kind of way to connect, which is pretty amazing. And it definitely shines through. Your level of customer service is incredible. And yeah, it's just been a really great pleasure to get to know you and get to work side by side and have you as a part of the team and a teammate. And yeah, it's been awesome.
Jens, I think I first met you when my 17-year-old was playing rec ball way back when. So on that note, you're not allowed to retire until my baby gets to be done with basketball, which is 15 years from now. And then I got to interact with you when I was the branch manager at Tri-Counties Bank, and we worked together doing sponsorships and getting plaques and just being able to help the basketball teams happen. So thank you for what you do, and congratulations on 20 years.
Was that your nothing further to add, James?
Okay.
Did anybody comment?
I don't know if there's any public comment.
Please, anybody from the public want to help us recognize this fabulous man and all that he's done for the district? No.
All right, seeing there's the mic.
Thank you. All right. I'd like a reading of the resolution. Is there anyone else? Say it, James.
Found my phone and serving and it's the motivation for the country, unfortunately, life is weird and it's like, oh, it's something that we work with. I love the community, you know, and but years and years, like a lot of stuff. And so, I'm humbled, thankful, I'm grateful to, you know, starting to get, you know, 31 years old. Getting married, we have a kid, hanging out in Walker Avenue. And, you know, my life developed, and then, you know, you really put something where it is. It's really allowed me to raise family, to buy home, and to, you know, all these connections, the lifelong connections. And so, keep it short and sweet. I really appreciate all the time and words. And I'm looking forward to keeping it up and getting better. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good. So is it now time to call for the resolution?
All right. I'm happy to call for the motion, resolution 2025-08, recognizing, honoring, and commending Jen Anderson's for 20 years service to the district.
I'll second that.
May we have the roll call, please?
Director Bender,
Yes.
President Beitman,
Absolutely, yes.
Director Couch,
Hardy, yes.
Director Mayo,
Yes.
Director Orsini.
Yes.
Thank you all.
Do you mind if we grab a photo? If the audience will put up with us for a second. Grab a photo.
Mhm. I don't know whether I want to be in. Might get up, it might spoil a photo, I'm not sure.
Glare on the lens.
Yeah, there you go. Oops.
Very good, very good, very good.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Our next item is item E2. It's on page 63 of the binder. It is to consider appointments of alternate seat applicants, Patty Stewart and Evan Swartz, to voting seats on the Parks and Recreation Committee. And this will be presented by Kirsten Messmer, our Director of Parks and Recreation.
Thank you. It is the duty of the Board of Directors to vet and select the most qualified candidates to become members of the park, which is the Parks and Recreation Committee. The Board of Directors is obligated to interview all candidates, discuss the candidates' qualifications, and select the most qualified candidates to serve on the committee by the majority vote. There are currently 2 voting member seats that are open on the park committee. And we also currently have 2 already approved alternate seat positions filled by Patty Stewart and Evan Swartz. The park made a motion at their February 19th, 2025 meeting to recommend that the NCSD Board of Directors fill the 2 vacant voting seats with the 2 alternate members, Patty Stewart and Evan Swartz, already appointed to the park by the board. Staff recommends that the board consider the information provided, air questions, take public comment, and vote on the appointments of Patty Stewart and Evan Swartz to the Parks and Recreation Committee as voting members for a term of 4 years.
Fantastic. Thank you, Kirsten, and thank you again for the good work on this. Do we have any public comments or any questions regarding this recommendation? That's okay. If not, I'd like to call for a motion of approval
So moved.
and a second.
I'll second.
Thank you. And Joey, would you call the roll, please?
Director Bender,
Yes.
President Beitman,
Yes.
Director Couch,
Yes.
Director Mayo,
Yes.
and Director Orsini.
Yes.
The motion carries. Our next item on our agenda for this evening is item E3. It's on page 65 of the board packet. And it's to initiate the process for the annual evaluation of our general manager's performance. And this is scheduled to be presented by Joey Blaine, the board secretary. Joey, would you present it, please?
Thank you, President Beitman. As noted in the general manager employment agreement, the board shall review and evaluate the general manager's performance at least annually in advance of the anniversary date of the effective date of the general manager agreement, which is attachment 1. During an open public meeting, the board president will select 1 board member to consolidate all 5 board member evaluations. Once a member of the board has been selected, a schedule should be established, suggested dates in bold, which includes date to complete and return sealed evaluations to the board secretary, April 11th. Date the appointed consolidator will retrieve the evaluations, April 14th. Date for review information to be returned to the board secretary for confidential distribution, April 28th. And a date for the closed session for the general manager's performance evaluation, May 7th. At tonight's meeting, the board secretary will provide all 5 board members with an evaluation form and an envelope to seal and return the form once complete, which you notice is on the table in front of you. An electronic version of the evaluation form is available if requested. The board will fill out the evaluations and provide them to the board secretary at the district office in the sealed envelope in accordance with the schedule. The board members selected to consolidate the evaluations will be notified by the board secretary that the evaluations by board members are completed and ready to pick up. The evaluations will be consolidated by averaging each selection and combining any written comments, so there will be 1 evaluation from the board and 1 evaluation from the department heads. The board secretary shall distribute the 360 performance evaluation, attachment 3, to the department heads, collect, consolidate, and distribute the evaluations to the board as part of the May 1st board packet. To finish, at a properly noticed public meeting, the board will convene a closed session to review the consolidated evaluation with the general manager for the purpose of discussing the general manager's performance. Also included in the envelope along with the evaluation form, it is the general manager's contract year. So there is a redlined version of his proposed contract as well in your envelope. Staff recommends that the board discuss, take public comment, and ask the board president to select one board member to consolidate all board member evaluations and set a schedule.
Have we any, thank you, Joey. Have we any discussion from members of the board? No? Okay, I look forward to this. This is an opportunity to express some things that I look forward to expressing. Have we any public comment on this? Very important activity. Okay. I have checked with board member Orsini, and he said he is willing to accept the appointment. So I would like to act as this says in my position as the president of the board and appoint Director Greg Orsini to be the member who is to consolidate and report the evaluations of members of the board. And I would like to have a confirmation from Director Orsini that yes, in fact, he'll accept that appointment.
Yeah, I changed my mind. I don't want to do it now.
Thank you so much.
No, I'm fine. One thing, if I could, request that you make every effort for the board to fill them out on, a digital copy. It'll make it much easier for me to aggregate them, other than Dennis, of course. And Dennis, all I'd ask is that I can actually read your writing so that I can, actually aggregate yours. And Joey, could you please, distribute us the digital copy of that?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And send it to me, Joey, I'll try. Spell work online than I do.
And that'll be distributed to us through the MCSD emails. Is that
Correct.
Correct, okay. Our next action on this is to set and approve the calendar. And a recommended calendar is presented to us. The date to complete and return the sealed evaluations to the board secretary of April the 11th. To complete the board date, the appointed consolidator will retrieve the evaluations. Is Director Orsini, and that's April 14th. The date for review, information to be returned to the board secretary for confidential distribution, April 28th, and a date for the closed session for the general manager's performance evaluation of May 7th. I'd like to recommend that we adopt that calendar. If I could have a motion to that effect.
So moved.
And a second, please.
Second.
Any discussion on the calendar dates? If not, I'd like to have a vote to approve. Joey, please.
Director Bender,
Yes.
President Beitman,
Yes,
Director Couch,
Yes.
Director Mayo,
Yes.
Director Orsini.
Yes.
okay. And Joey, you will see that we are in receipt of the digital copies of that, so we can simplify the process. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
We have next on our agenda, two resolutions, 2025-06 and 2025-07, to initiate proceedings for the Measure B Maintenance Assessment District renewal for parks, open space, and recreational facilities annual levy and collection of assessments for fiscal year 2025-2026. Declaring intention to levy and collect the fiscal year 2025-26 annual assessments for the Measure B Maintenance Assessment District. renewal for parks, open space, and recreational facilities, accepting and approving the engineer's report and setting the public hearing. And that is scheduled to be presented by Samantha Howard, our finance director.
Thank you, President Biteman. In 1992, McKinleyville voters approved the Measure B Assessment District with a 20-year duration for the purpose of funding the development and maintenance of public recreation facilities, including the McKinleyville Activity Center, Azalea Hall, and Hiller Sports Site. The board authorized collection of the assessments in each year beginning in fiscal year 1992-93. In 2011, a property owner protest ballot proceeding was conducted pursuant to the provisions of the California Constitution Article, I don't know what that number is, for the levy of annual assessments for the Measure B Maintenance Assessment District. Renewal for parks, open space, and recreational facilities, which would replace and extend for another 20-year duration the assessments previously approved by voters in 1992. The proposed assessments were approved by the property owners, 54.9% in favor, 45.1% opposed, and the new assessments were levied on the Humboldt County tax rolls for fiscal year 2011-2012. In 2023, the district held another property owner protest ballot proceeding pursuant to the provisions of the California Constitution article for the levy of annual assessments for the Measure B Maintenance Assessment District renewal for parks, open space, and recreational facilities seeking an increase in the Measure B assessment. The property owners voted in favor of increasing the Measure B assessment amount from $30 per single-family dwelling unit to $94 per single-family dwelling unit, 63% in favor and 37% opposing. In accordance with the provisions of the Landscaping and Lighting Act of 1972, Streets and Highway Code, the board, in addition to conducting a public hearing, must annually adopt a resolution initiating proceedings and a resolution declaring its intention to levy assessments for the upcoming fiscal year. The resolution initiating proceedings generally describes any proposed new improvements or any substantial changes in existing improvements and orders the engineer to prepare and to file a report. The resolution of intention basically includes the board's approval of the report either as filed or as modified, declares the intention of the board to levy and collect assessments within the assessment district for the fiscal year stated in the report, and give notice of the time and the place of the public hearing in the levy of the proposed assessment. Staff recommends the board review the information provided, take public comment, and adopt resolutions 2025-06 and 2025-07. A resolution initiating proceedings for the Measure B Maintenance Assessment District, renewal for parks, open space, and recreational facilities annual levy and collection of assessments for fiscal year 25-26, or attachment 1. A resolution of intention that declares the board's intention to levy and collect the Measure B Maintenance Assessment District renewal for parks, open space, and recreation facilities annual assessment for fiscal year 25-26, accept and approves the engineer's report regarding the assessments, and sets the public hearing for May 7th, 2025, the attachment 2.
Thank you, Samantha. Have we any questions or comments on this? I'd like to note that there is one typographical error that I think we should address and correct. On page 77, attachment 2, it says resolution 2022-07. And I think that should be resolution 2025-07.
Thank you, President Byman. I'll correct it on my copy.
Okay. Other than that, I find nothing that I consider worthy of comment. I'm grateful for the very complete report that we received, and I want to thank you for that. Are there any other comments, questions? All right. If not, I'd like to call then for approval.
Maybe ask for public comment,
Yes, please.
and there doesn't appear to be any.
For public comment.
I thought I could ask for questions or comments, and thank you. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to make a comment? Present or online, either one. Okay. I'm hearing none, I guess it's appropriate to call for a vote, call for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Yeah, 2025 it's 06 and 2025 07. We have the motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. And Joey, may we have a roll call for the vote, please?
Director Bender,
Yes,
President Beitman,
Yes.
Director Couch,
Yes.
Director Mayo,
Yes.
Director Orsini.
Yes.
Okay. And we have approved, therefore, the adoption of resolutions 2025-06 and 2025-07. The next item on our agenda is a review of the Parks and General Fund draft operating budget for the fiscal year 2025 and 2025-2026. And that is to be presented by Samantha Howard, our finance director. Samantha?
Thank you. The budget was developed based on current costs, trends, and best estimates based on historical data and experience. For the Parks and General Fund operating budget, the expected revenue for programs is projected to be less than the projected revenue for 2024-25 based on current actual program revenues to date. Facility rental revenues for 25-26 is anticipated to be in line with the current fiscal year. Property tax revenue for fiscal year 25-26 is budgeted 4.4% higher than in 24-25 fiscal year based on a 3-year average of actual revenues. There is also 1.4 million budgeted in grant revenue for the construction of the BMX park. For the purpose of this draft, the salary and benefits costs are based on the methodologies agreed upon during the 2024-25 employee negotiations. Other operating costs have fluctuated due to activity levels and inflation. Additionally, in 2025-26, the district intends to make Section 115 trust contributions to offset its other post-employment benefits or OPEB liabilities. In 2023, the property owners of McKinleyville voted to increase the Measure B assessment amount. The 2025-26 draft Measure B budget is based up on the revenues projected in the 25-26 engineers report for the Measure B assessment district renewal and establishment of increased assessments. Staff is fully aware that the Measure B fund is currently showing a deficit of approximately $665,419 as reported in the 2023-24 audit. Over the next several years, through conscientious budgeting and regular cash flow tracking, staff will be working towards correcting this deficit. The table below summarizes the estimates of district's fixed costs as well as anticipated cost changes compared to the current year estimated actuals. These costs are incorporated into the Park and Recreation operating budget and will similarly be incorporated into the operations budget to be presented to the board in May. I did make a calculation error in the fixed cost spreadsheet. The workers' compensation insurance is actually projected to increase by 10%. Health insurance is projected to decrease by 4%, and general liability insurance based on the February estimate from SDRMA is anticipated to decrease by 0.83%. As noted, you can see the CalPERS and classic portions of the estimates changed significantly. Reasons for this are those unfunded liability calculations were historically done in a way we call I-splits, which calculates it across departments on a very specific way. This year, I actually recalculated those to reflect the number of classic employees versus PEPRA employees in their actual departments. So there's only 2 classic employees in the Parks and Recreation department now.
So reduced our overhead.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, it reduced the classic portion of the unfunded
Yeah.
liability quite significantly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that has to, for the board, that has to do with the PEPRA employees have to contribute. They have to contribute a share of the PERS out of pocket, where the classic employees, that was completely covered. The PERS is completely covered by the district. So that'll, yeah.
So staff recommend that the board review, take public comment, and discuss the draft operating budget for the Parks and General Fund and Measure B Fund for fiscal year 25-26.
to those of us who are still, shall we say, new to this, PEPRA stands for what?
I am very new to this too, President Byman, and I do not know the answer to that. Perhaps Pat does?
Employee. What the heck is a public employee?
I-
Pension,
I don't know the exact verbiage, but it's all of us newbies that were hired after 2013.
Okay.
Public Employees Pension Reform Act.
that's it.
Para is a surname of multiple words.
And the differentiation is the higher date. Is that, am I correct in stating that?
In 2016, the state of California realized that they were no longer going to be able to fund the PERS the way it was set up. And at that point in time, the state legislature completely rejiggered everything. So they wouldn't affect the people that were already in the system. Their retirements stayed the same, but everybody knew that came on after that January 1st of 2016. Or no, it was 2013, I think, 2013, I'm sorry, in January 1st of 2013. After that, if you became a public employee that was in the PERS system, you had to, the retirement rate, the quotient for the retirement rate was different. And you had to contribute out of pocket.
Thank you.
And that made PERS solvent again.
And I experienced that in working for a short period of time for Humboldt State University. I fell into the second class rather than the first. Are there other comments, questions from members of the board or from our audience or members of the public? I have but one, and you'll forgive me, Samantha. I see on this table of fixed costs, I see FY 24-25 compared to FY 24-25.
Yes,
Should that be 25-26 on the second column?
correct. Yes, thank you. I meant to mention that.
Okay. Anything else? All right. Is this is an information only, so it does not call for a vote or an action on the part of the board at this time.
I had a question. I missed it earlier, or I would have asked.
I'm sorry.
beforehand. I just noticed under property taxes, I'm assuming that's Measure B in the it's the under revenues, it's the third down. I'm assuming that's the Measure B. So are we going to be booking the new rate for the Measure B for the full fiscal year this year?
So I think what you're looking at, President or Director Orsini, is actually our property tax estimate for the coming year. Measure B is going to be actually on page 124.
Oh, I'm looking at the wrong one. I'm sorry. Yeah.
So the Measure B assessments based on the engineer's report for the coming year is expected to be 730,516. And I see I have another typo on that as well, that that column is supposed to be for 25, 26, excuse me.
Second column should be 25, 26.
Apologies for that.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, my question would remain the same, the 700,000. So we are booking under the new rate this year for Measure B.
Correct.
Okay.
So there was an increase this year, and I believe, if I remember correctly, it's $96
Did
and
94.
and 90.
Yeah.
Yeah, it went from 94 to 96.13.
Oh, okay, that's right, because we've
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
that's right, because we've got the escalator in there. Oh, wow, so that's gonna make about a 30,000, $29,000 difference. That's pretty cool.
Okay. And Samantha, will we see this back for approval by the board at a future meeting?
This will be a part of the full budget that comes back to the board for full approval in June.
Okay, good. Thank you. Any other thoughts or comments? Thank you for presenting it to us. I appreciate that. Our next, I'd like to move on to our next item on the agenda. This is to be presented by Joey Blaine, our board secretary. And it's a first reading of the ordinance 2025-02, revising Article 4, Regulation 46 of MCSTU Rules and Regulations to add descriptions of McKinleyville Community Forest subcommittees. And Joey, would you be so kind as to present that to us?
Yes, thank you, President Beitman. During the August 20th, 2024 meeting, the McKinleyville Community Forest Committee established two new subcommittees, the TIC Subcommittee and the Forest Management Plan and Funding Budget Subcommittee. To formalize their roles, it is essential to incorporate their descriptions into the McKinleyville Community Services District Rules and Regulations. Staff has drafted Ordinance 2025-02 that codifies the description of the subcommittees. The McKinleyville Community Forest Committee has reviewed the proposed language and recommended adoption by the Board of Directors. If the first reading of the ordinance is approved, it will return for second reading at the May 7th, 2025 regular Board of Directors meeting. Staff recommends that the board review, discuss, and approve the first reading of Ordinance 2025-02, revising Article 4, Regulation 46 of the MCSD Rules and Regulations to add descriptions of McKinleyville Community Forest Subcommittees by title only.
Thank you, Joey. Are there comments or questions from the board members or from? Yes, Greg.
Yeah, so this is brought to the, as it states in the discussion for this board item, this is brought to the, it was reviewed and worked out, hashed out, vetted at the subcommittee level. Then it was brought back to the full forest committee, community forest committee. They approved it without any modifications or without any concerns. And from the, our recommendation of, as you know, to the full board was to approve it as written.
Any other thoughts? Okay. If I may, without in any way suggesting that this is anything less than a really great thing and a great idea, and appreciating the work. I have a personal desire, and that is that when new committees are formed, that something in the language answers the question of why do we need this committee? Basically, what is its purpose? What is its function? And I did not find that in the description of either one of the subcommittees. Very nicely laid out the structure, the membership, and so on. But I was hoping that as a first paragraph, I would see something that would basically say purpose of the committee. And I know we had a great deal of discussion on that. We had a great deal of discussion on how many subcommittees and how to separate the responsibilities of the two subcommittees to, in essence, I won't say lighten the load of the Community Forest Committee, because I don't think it really does, but to get a sharper focus and have people who would really put the time into considering those particular sets of issues. And honestly, I'd like to see an addition of something, one paragraph or some other such thing that would state the purpose of these subcommittees and answer the question, why are we forming these two subcommittees? And I'll just put that out as a personal comment, not as in any way other than just simply to say this is my response to what I think is a very fine piece of work and very fine effort and a really good thing. So
If I may, Director Byman, or President Byman, excuse me. It was staff's opinion that that portion of concern is covered in 46-16-13 and 46-17-13 under powers and duties in the ordinance.
Okay.
And just to, I think it answers it well, the trails, so 46-16-13, the Trails Infrastructure Cleanups and Security Subcommittee will have the following powers and duties. So why is this subcommittee established? And item A is to serve in an advisory capacity to the McKinleyville Community Forest Committee and district staff in all matters pertaining to the development of a trails plan and system within the McKinleyville Community Forest. And then B talks about making recommendations on the development of the various infrastructure improvements. C is organized cleanup crews and events for the purpose of eliminating litter, et cetera, et cetera. So it was staff's opinion that the why was answered by that section for the ticks. And again, 46-17-13 for the forest management plan.
Okay, so basically it's been considered, and the conclusion is that at least those first two paragraphs of section 46-16-13 and 46-17, I guess it's also 13, answer the question of why have this committee? What's this committee about? What's its purpose?
That was staff's opinion.
Okay. I don't know whether others agree with that or not. I'm not, as I said, I'm not going to push it. I think this is fine work. I think this is necessary, and I think it was well thought through in constructing these two subcommittees. It was just language that I was concerned about.
President Byman, can I add a comment?
Please do.
These were also modeled after the rules and regs that we have for the Park and Recreation Committee, which have been in the rules and regs since that was established. So that was kind of obviously very much these are focused on the forest and the very specific tasks of the subcommittee, but we did model them based off our other advisory committee that has been in the rules and regs for years. So
Okay.
just to give you an idea of where the bones for this came from.
Thank you. And our action this evening is, are we acting to approve this, or
We're approving the first reading.
we're approving only the first reading, not this isn't the final approval. Am I correct with that?
Correct. It'll come back for a second reading at the May 7th meeting.
Okay. Any other comments or thoughts? Anybody else besides me have some impertinent suggestions?
Well, I was gonna say, I'd almost like to see a sunset clause included in this, because some of this is stuff that it might get, in 5 years, we might not need the committees anymore. So I always like.
That would be hopeful thinking. I'm
Yeah.
sure staff would love that, but I don't see that happening though, honestly.
Okay.
I think we'll just be getting going in 5 years, to tell you the truth.
10 years.
I'll say it this way, I'm new enough to this process to not fully understand the business of first, second readings, and is the first reading an opportunity for board members and others to provide comments to the committee, or just exactly how this thing functions? Kirsten,
If I may.
Joey,
So with ordinances, the first reading is an opportunity for the board to review the ordinance, and if there are any desired material changes to it, then staff would make those changes and then bring it back for another first reading. If there are no material changes, then staff brings it back for the second reading as part of the public process, at which point, if the second reading is approved, the ordinance goes into effect 30 days after the approval of the second reading. So the first reading really is the opportunity for changes and or adjustments that are material.
Okay, and for people I won't include, I will not include Director Couch in this, but for people such as myself to express their impertinent opinions about what was here, and that'll be heard by the members of the committee and appropriately acted upon, which may be to drop it into the nearest receptacle, which I think is perfectly within their purview to do so. We hear you. Okay, thank you very much. All right. Do we need to do anything else at this point before we call for approval of the first reading?
No.
No?
Public comment?
Public comment? Staff choose to comment on this? Okay, so let me call then for the motion to approve the first reading of ordinance 2025-002, revising Article 4, Regulation 46 of the MCSD Rules and Regulations to add descriptions of the McKinleyville Community Forest subcommittees.
I'll move.
Second.
Okay. Joey, would you call the roll, please?
Director Bender,
Yes.
President Beitman,
Yes.
Director Couch,
Yes.
Director Mayo,
Yes.
Director Orsini.
Yes.
All right, we're moving on now to what appears to be the last item of new business, new and continuing business for the board to act upon, and which is item E7. It's on page 133 of the board packet. And it's to consider the purchase offer for assessor's parcel number 511-401-039 from Laurel Tree Charter School. And this is to be presented to us by Patrick Kasperi, our general manager, and it's an informational item and does not call for action.
Thank you, President Beitman. So the Laurel Tree Charter School, the owners of APN 511-401-039 or 899 Murray Road, McKinleyville, sent the letter included as attachment 1 to staff. As stated in the letter, Laurel Tree is interested in selling the parcel described in the letter and shown on attachment 2 for a listed price of $860,000. The letter asks if the district is interested in purchasing the property, but also asks if we know of any other entities that may be interested. The staff is not presenting this item as an action item, but merely as an informational item. The district, of course, does not have $860,000 budgeted for this type of purchase. District staff time and resources are fully utilized currently with the community forest and other parks and recreation, water, sewer, and streetlight tasks. Staff would encourage the board or other community members to reach out to Laurel Tree staff directly if they know of any other interested parties. So staff recommends that the board review the information provided, discuss, and take public comment on the Laurel Tree Charter School letter.
Okay, thank you, Pat. Do we have any questions? Yes, Dr. Orsini.
Do we know what that's, is it zoned R3 or R2?
No, it's zone, the letter says it's zone public
Oh,
facility.
okay, so it's PU.
Yeah, and I didn't check on that zoning, so I just assuming that they got it correct.
Yeah, it is. Well, you know why? Because I think it was zoned because the church was supposed to own it
Right.
originally.
It used to be just Daffodil
Yeah,
Farm.
it used to be owned by the church that used to meet in this room.
Yeah, yeah, they actually.
And they bought it at this kind of exorbitant price and then they couldn't really afford it. So then
They sold it to
Sold it.
Laurel Tree.
the Laurel Tree.
Yeah. So that's why it's zoned, that's why it's not zoned R.
Yeah, it used to be residential.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I think Mr. Furtado was.
Well, yeah, he'd have to get it rezoned though.
Yeah, well, it'd be pretty easy.
Daffodil field, I worked there.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, pulled bolted out of it.
So that's why, is that why there's all those daffodils along the
Yeah, it
freeway
used to
along
be
there?
owned by Henrietta Hart.
Okay,
She's historical McKinleyville figure.
So did staff kind of look at it and say, is this something that we could purchase and hold in surplus and that might have some strategic benefit to us at some point down the road, or?
Staff thought about all of those things. We could not see any strategic need for it right now, and definitely don't have the money for it, and definitely have a bunch of other properties that are being held in reserve for further development down the road. But if the board wants to further consider this, we should take it into closed session and.
Right.
Right.
So no more speculative comments then, is that what you're saying, Pat? I don't think I understand exactly what you.
You can speculate all you
Well,
want.
no, I,
but-
'cause I know the
Yeah.
property too, and I just, we have the authority now to do a lot of things that, most special districts didn't used to be able to do. One is we could own rental properties. And that's what, the only thing I was thinking is that there could be a potential, way to fund, our park and rec and a few other things if, as an entity, keeping our eyes open for types of grants that might pay for it, and we could partner with Furtado and build houses, and then,
We should probably be talking about this in closed session.
okay.
Yeah,
that's
this is-
okay.
Yeah,
All
if the
right.
board
This is-
does want to seriously consider
This is
this,
speculative.
then.
Anyway, that's why, yeah, you should have just told me, shut up, Pat.
No.
I was getting there. Greg got there first.
But this is not but the point is, this is not an action item. This is simply an information item. and-
Correct, but staff does need direction. If the board would like to consider this in closed session, we can put it on next month's closed session and have district legal counsel present to
Yeah,
vet these
I'd like to
ideas
do
and stuff.
Me too.
Okay,
I would be
What
opposed to
about
that.
You what?
I would be opposed to that. I don't
Okay.
think we should spend
Yeah.
district council money on it.
all right.
To have a closed session, we don't have council there to talk about.
Yeah, we
this.
do.
No, we don't.
We don't have to.
We're not
I
gonna
will,
have council.
if we're kicking around ideas like this, I guess I could vet them afterwards too, or we could decide whether we want to vet them with legal counsel afterwards, but.
Yeah, just me and Dennis, if the three of you say no, then it's a dead subject. I'm not gonna die
what's-
on this hill.
Joey, let me ask you the question. What's our process of putting an item on the agenda of a future meeting as a closed session?
Just to direct staff.
Okay, we don't need to have a resolution and vote upon it for that.
No.
No,
That leaves me kind of up in the air with, let's do it, let's don't do it, and what's our best way of,
I think you're the tiebreaker, Jim.
at this point, the report that I heard said, in essence, we find no potential merit in ownership of the property, and so I would break the tie by
Good
saying,
decision.
let's say thank you very much for letting us know about it, and let's pass.
Yeah, and at any time we can, I don't know if they've gotten any serious offers on the property or anything, I could circle back with the Laurel Tree to see where things stand with them. And at any time, the board can direct staff to bring this back as a closed session item.
If it comes back at a fraction of the price, then.
I find it hard to believe it would
Whatever,
sell very
okay.
quickly.
Um,
What? They want 800,000
yeah,
and it's 4.5 acres.
16 per. Is it 16 or?
okay. In interest of moving our meeting along, I'd like to move to the next part of our agenda, which is report by our wonderful and very capable staff members.
That's $213.
Active committee reports now, Jim.
Oh, are we an active committee? I'm flipping over here. Thank you.
That's what it's.
Active committee reports. Active committee reports, Parks and Recreation Committee. Director Bender, please.
Okay, the only thing that I have to add to Director Mesmer's report is that we were joined last park meeting by a man named Jamie Bellerman, who brought forth the idea of creating a dog park steward program modeled after some other programs that he's researched from down south. He's trying to make the dog park a little safer for everybody. And I understand he's going to be back next month. He's going to have more people with him, but I hope to find this on the agenda as new business.
Nice. I think at least some of the people I know will greatly appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's nice. The area fund?
Okay,
Thank you again,
that would be
Mayor
me as
Scott.
well. Okay, the McKinleyville Area Fund put out their request for their micro grants last month. The deadline for the micro grant submission is coming up next week. We will be meeting as a board in the coming month, and I should have more to report next month. That's all I have for that.
Well, thank you.
Could you email me the application? I didn't get one. I usually get one sent to me, but I didn't get one.
Okay,
I appreciate that. Thanks.
all right.
Okay. Okay, Redwood Region Economic Development Commission, due to my condition, I didn't attend, and I think Dennis, you were.
Yeah, I went and it was basically a housekeeping meeting, some protocols and that type of stuff. And of course, everybody talked about their district a little bit, and I outed our water tank.
Good. It's an opportunity to strut our stuff among our wider community. Thank you. The McKinleyville Senior Center Board Liaison and Director Bender, and I think that you have some wonderful things to tell us about that.
About as wonderful as every month. We're in there, Monday through Friday from 9 until 3:30 or 4 p.m., sharing and caring. And doing what we do best. This last month, we did have the opportunity to host Dr. Gina Belton, a palliative psychologist from Arcata, who presented her very popular Death Cafe. Once again, we had one in November. It was well attended with over 30 people.
Wow.
And there was 30 people again this last week. And she's planning on doing another one and continuing this going. We'll probably be doing it again in July. And so stand by for more for that. And coming up in later on this month is going to be a presentation by CHP officer, Public Information Officer Paul Kraft, who's going to present a senior safe driving class called Age Smart Drive Well. And they have the CHP Humboldt has that out on their social media, and we farmed it out on our social media as well. And we hope to have a good turnout for that, and have many seniors and their families come in to learn about how to drive more safely, learn how to drive within their limitations, learn when it's time to surrender your keys, et cetera, et cetera. And so we're hoping for a good turnout for that as well. And we're starting to put together our plans for our little Pony Express community outreach in our room to coincide with the Pony Express celebration going on out here in Pearson Park. We plan on being joined by Life Plan Humboldt once again to do some tabling. We're going to be hosting Area 1 Agency on Aging will be joining us, particularly to promote signing people up for CalFresh. And who knows what else that we are going to be plugging in there between now and then. So we hope for another great event. So more details to come, and I'll talk more about that next month.
Super. By the way, I appreciate what you've been posting on Facebook on the activities. It gives us a very nice look into a very rich
Yeah,
program.
it's fun, and I'd also like to recognize Jack Durham from the Mad River Union, who generously grants us a monthly column. So look for us the third week of the month edition, and that's always fun to write.
There you go. Great. Audit and Finance Committee. Director Orsini?
Oh, you want me to do it?
Yeah.
So the Audit and Finance Committee met on March 12th. And we reviewed the audit, the fiscal year 24, 25, 23, 24 audit. And then the single audit for 22. And then we also discussed how we're going to fund the 115 grant for our OPEB. And then we had a special meeting on the 18th and approved the audits, the single audit in last fiscal year's audit. Did I miss anything? Okay. And that's all. That's my report.
And in there, we also approved the revision of the previous audit. Am I correct?
Yeah, that was the single audit for 22.
Single audit
Yeah.
report. Okay. Employee negotiations,
We did
Director
not meet.
Couch?
We did not meet, so nothing to report.
Oh, that's a simple
And-
one.
I think the boys are
Um,
currently happy.
McKinleyville Municipal Advisory Committee, and I don't know who is,
That would be me.
that's you?
I
Okay,
certainly
thanks.
get to talk a lot during the active committee report.
Well, it's-
Anyway, we did meet. We met on March 26th, the fourth Wednesday of the month. And the first thing that happened after the pomp and circumstance to start the meeting was that CHP Officer Paul Kraft was in attendance. He gave a brief presentation on safety of e-scooters primarily, because we've been having a problem in McKinleyville with people riding e-scooters on sidewalks, in the roadways, riding them dangerously in parking lots, creating hazards, riding without helmets, generally underage kids. And he spoke on the laws regarding e-scooters, which came as a surprise to a lot of people who aren't aware that to operate an electronic or a motorized scooter anywhere in the public realm, one has to have either a learner's permit or a driver license. And that would require the operator to be 15 and a half or 16 years old at a minimum to ride in the public realm. That came as a
Interesting.
big surprise to a lot of people.
Yep.
And helmets are required, that you can't ride two abreast, and some various other things. He did provide a flyer, which I scanned into the computer and popped out on our local McKinleyville social media, which was met with mixed results. Some people thought, yay, this is wonderful. Other people thought it was governmental overreach and unnecessary. Also, Supervisor Madrone spoke and gave his brief update and spoke a little bit on Measure O. And we dove right into our presentation. McKinleyville Family Resource Center, Aristia Salisbury and Robin Baker spoke about what they do at the FRC. And they were also joined by Alana Smith from Cal Poly Humboldt, who spoke on the community survey that they conducted, that the MCSD helped solicit feedback for this. And we were supposed to get a slideshow. Was that ever emailed, Jody? Okay. Anyway, we reviewed the survey results that she got from that. And those will be made public soon, I would imagine. And we talked a little bit about the survey results. Pat was kind enough to give a McKinleyville Community Forest update, and that was discussed as being a regular part of the MCMAC schedule, so that we can keep abreast of what's going on in the community forest. And the subcommittee reports, the Committee for Active Transportation really didn't have too much to share other than a few updates regarding the Hiller Road Quick Build. The MESC Incorporation Exploratory Committee gave a brief update, and they noted that Professor Josh Sebner is no longer participatory in that group due to obligations stemming from his employment up at HSU. If they need him a little bit more, being a professor. And that was pretty much it. Next month, we're going to be reviewing the Town Center EIR. And we'll be having a better presentation by Tom Madsen about the Hiller Road Quick Build. Did I miss anything, Pat? Okay, that's that for the MCMAC.
Speaking of that, I was reading, and I don't know if it was the Red-Headed Black Belt or North Coast Outpost. They're considering dropping the economic department from Cal Poly Humboldt. If that happens, isn't that where most of the people that we're getting our work from for the incorporation coming from the economic department? Huh? Oh, from a couple, so we might not lose everybody then. Yeah, and places to live and all that.
Thank you. And if you'll forgive me, my experience of working there some years back, that question seemed to come up on a regular basis and never went very far, so. Okay, the Community Forest Committee, and Greg, I'd appreciate if you bring us up to date on that.
Sure.
Wouldn't mind. Okay.
Let me refresh myself. I should have been prepared. I thought I was
You're better
done.
prepared than I am, thank you. I've somehow they've been preoccupied over the last week or two.
So as we talked about, and this will probably be coming back to our board, and that's setting up a fund through the Humboldt Area Fund to have a place where we can collect money that will give people a tax advantage if they want to donate to the community forest. And it'll be administered through HAF so that we don't have to set up a nonprofit. But anyway, I don't want to get too much into that because I'm sure staff will have a full report on that when they bring it back for consideration from us. We approved the rules that we reviewed tonight and did the first reading of and approved tonight. Both the subcommittees gave reports. And that's really about it. I don't know if there's anything else that either one of you want to, or James?
No, I was just going to chime in. Yes, both the e-bike as well as the nonprofit formation will come back to this board at our next board meeting.
Oh, that's the one that was, we did the ones that we did tonight, the meeting before that.
Right.
That's right. So the rule 47.2 is for the class 1, 2 class 1 and 2 e-bike that'll be coming back. Thank you for correcting me on that.
Okay. Anything else on that?
Nothing
Oh.
else, nothing further to add.
Humboldt Bay Municipal Water District Task Force and David, is that?
That's me, but we didn't meet, but I do have something else that kind of relates to that, which I'll talk about instead. So we had a LAFCO meeting, and the LAFCO agency that did their spiel was Humboldt Bay Water. So they kind of talked about wheeling water through our district as part of their thing. And I had to explain to the LAFCO members that it wasn't really wheeling, that it costs us money to pump the water up the hill. So we were going to have to charge them a little bit of money on top of the wholesale rates from Humboldt Bay so that we don't lose money for our customers, basically. And then I also talked about the fact that the water in the river for habitat is a really good thing. So those were kind of my comments on that. Although since I was an alternative, the lawyer had to point out that I was not an official LAFCO board member, that I was just speaking as the public. I got my 2 cents in.
Nonetheless. Thank you. Legislative and regulatory reports. What do we have? Dennis, that's often
Am I up?
your bailiwick.
All right. So I'm not going to get in the weeds terribly. It's been really busy. I've been very, very, very busy. I'm going to try to, had an Aqua Zoom meeting for about 3 hours today. And last week I was at the Aqua Ledge Days, and of course, met with our reps and a few others that are going to be beneficial from committees that you may not think you should talk to them, but they're on committees. And connecting always the LA fire, our fires, our headwater issues, how important all of that, how it relates to our community forest. And we hit all of the markers on all of that habitat, salmonid, everything. So we did that. And so I've been spending some time early in the mornings with some contacts in DC, and a few bills that are important to us. HR 517, it's Filing Relief for Natural Disaster Act, and HR 1491, which is the Disaster Deadline Act, both of which relative to our fire victims and getting their tax exemptions, and pretty important stuff. And hopefully, praise God, we don't have any more, but it could. And then there's as always, anytime there's a new administration, revised rule making on the WOTUS definitions, especially related to the Sackett versus EPA decision that happened. And there's 3 main parts to that. Is one, definition of the scope of relatively permanent. Number 2, continuous surface connection. And number 3, scope of jurisdictional ditches. And believe me, those are important issues, and not to go deep into them. And I am on the WOTUS work group with Aqua, and we're working on, staying involved in that. Then HR 1897, it's amendments to the Endangered Species Act, codifies the definition again of in the weeds, foreseeable future habitat in determining critical habitat. And then I sat in on a really, really great meeting by Zoom on the 26th of the Environment and Public Works Committee. Our State Senator Padilla and Schiff both were asking questions, and there's very positive focus on something that I think we're all concerned about, and that's the concept of the polluter pays on PFAS. And of course, I bring up that we got to add microfibers into that discussion as well. And then, of course, our ongoing forest health management, water, and I'm happy to say that I got to put our name in front of Senator Schiff one more time. And that's enough for tonight.
Great. Thank you, Dennis, and thank you for the report. Thank you for hanging in there and
It's an addiction.
and also, quite honestly, thank you for making people aware that this little place up here in McKinleyville.
Yeah, Northern California doesn't end at San Francisco.
Well, actually, Northern California starts about Willits,
Yeah.
There you go.
be honest.
But people here, people in this part of the state actually think and actually have concerns that are worth hearing. And so we appreciate you doing that.
And what received? I mean, we're yeah.
Mhm. Okay.
President Biteman,
Yes,
if,
sir.
if I may, I did want to bring to the board's attention Senate Bill 315. We likely are going to do an opposed letter. I don't know that we were trying to get a sample one to bring to the board, but we likely will have to do that in April sometime. And Senate Bill 315 is a definite oppose. It's related to Quimby fees. So whenever a developer is doing development, they can, either build a park or pay into the Quimby funds. And this bill would limit the amount that they have to pay into Quimby, and it would greatly reduce our Quimby fees. So we likely are going to oppose it. And I will send you around a letter when we do.
And we'll bring that to board at some point.
I think we're going to have to get it out between board meetings.
Yeah, I don't think any of us on the board stop me if I'm wrong, that if time's of the essence, that we'd be fully in support of you signing that letter
Absolutely.
and putting it out.
Absolutely. And thank you for the last one that you did this last week too.
Yeah, we'll defer to your discretion on whether or not it's.
I appreciate that.
And like they always say, better to say I'm sorry than to ask permission.
Yeah.
Okay. Have we anything else on legislative and regulatory activities? No. Hearing none, I'd like to move to staff reports and begin with the Finance and Administration Department. Samantha Howard, and her written report is on page 130 of our
Hey, Jim,
board packet.
do you want to,
Yeah.
while we're on legislative stuff, do we want to ask Supervisor Madrone if he's got anything to add, or did you want to?
Oh, I'm sorry. Forgive, please. You, never mind. I'm sorry.
President Reitman, thank you. Just a couple things. One, Senator Padilla and Schiff were looking for support. They want to support $1 million for preliminary engineering on Scenic Drive. And we were able to generate a lot of letters of support for that earmark, which, as we all know, it's an economic engine for our area and fallen into the sea. So it would be nice to get started on repairing that. Secondly, I was contacted by the Laurel Tree School looking for potential buyers, just like they did contact you guys. And I put them in touch with the Humboldt County Office of Education and State Parks, because they are actually working on a proposal to develop an outdoor school together. And this site sounded like it might be a good possibility. So I put them in touch with each other, but haven't heard anything about moving forward. I know State Parks budgets are pretty shot as well. So really, that's all I have at this point. So keep it short.
Well, thank you for that, and thank you for hanging with us. Go ahead, please.
I have a quick question. The support letters for the road, do we have that?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
You've provided a support letter.
Okay.
Yeah, that's one of those examples where Your general manager was able to respond very quickly, and letters from government
That's
bodies,
the one you sent. I'm sorry, my brain.
letters from government bodies really hold a lot of weight. So we're very appreciative at the county of that support. Thank you, Pat. So we got about 8 letters in. We only had a 3-day deadline or notice to get it done, but we appreciate the senators both, supporting that. We'll see where it goes in the budget process, right? So
Nice.
and it's really just the start. It's probably going to take multi-millions to actually repair that road, but you got to start with the preliminary engineering.
Well, then and all the environmental crap we're gonna have to go through to get it done
Absolutely.
too. That's gonna probably cost as much as the project.
Yeah, probably. Well, hopefully not, but yes, you're right.
Luckily,
There is-
it's a road that's already there, so it's.
That's true.
The new road would be the impossible.
that's
I don't know if that road is actually there.
Well.
Yeah, yeah, what
Drove it last.
is there?
Good news about that road is it's underlined by bedrock. And so engineering solutions are very easy to do. They just cost millions of dollars, right?
Yeah.
But there is the capability to create a very stable road there and have the coastal trail running along there and create economic development for our communities. But you got to start with the engineering, then you get to the permitting, and then you get to the money to actually build it. And when we took over that road in 1968 from Caltrans, at that point, there was a estimate of $12 million of deferred maintenance when the county took it over. So there's a fair argument to be made that maybe that 12 million is a good starting point. Senator McGuire is in a good position right now to maybe help in that way, but it's going to take years for this to come to fruition. So. All right. Anything else? All right.
Anybody?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor. Appreciate it. Okay. Now, let's see, is it time now? Maybe he's moving ahead. Finance and Administration Department, Samantha Howard, and your report is on page 139 of our book.
Yeah, the only thing I have to add is it's my February 2025 report, not December. I apologize for my typos this month, but I have nothing further to add to the actual body of the report.
Okay. I'm grateful for your careful work and bringing it forward in a way that I can actually understand it. I had one question, but I'll call for others first. Any other question? Anyone else have a question or a comment? And my question is very, very simple one. On the audit and budget update, you make the comment that the district staff have drafted and presented the CIP budget for the Parks and Recreation Department, and so on. And where can I find that?
So we presented the Parks and Measure B CIP budget, if I remember correctly, was in January? Was it January? And then we did the Operation CIP budget in February. So those would be in those monthly board packets. We can absolutely email them to you if you'd like to see those versions again. And then they will come back for final approval with the June full budget packet.
Okay, that's when I expected to see them, but I wanted to see them ahead of time, and it's probably lying on my desk in some kind of clutter at this point, and
Would you like me to email them to you?
I would really appreciate it. Thank you.
Should I copy all directors on that?
I don't know what the others are have this kind of
Okay.
weird interest in numbers that a couple of us share. Okay, thank you very, very much, Samantha. Our next staff report is from James Henry in Operations Department. And we'll find the written report on page 141 of our binder. James?
I was really just going to point out Samantha's spelling errors, but she took care of that, so I have nothing further to add at this time.
Okay, thank you.
What a guy. Always looking out for his coworkers.
Yeah. Page 147, we have the report of the Parks and Recreation Department, Kirsten Messmer. And there are a couple of things in there that I think are worth commenting on, and I wonder if you'd care to bring us up to date on what we have in your report, or just give us a synopsis, or however you best want to present it. Thank you.
Yeah, there was a couple things that I did want to touch on. So our staffing updates, Kristen has been doing a great job. We brought her on as a recreation coordinator, filling the position that I left vacated, that we temporarily filled with Mason for a few months. But she's been doing incredibly well and is way ahead of where he was at this point.
She was here tonight. Are we going to bring her back and introduce her to the board?
Yes, at some point, yeah, when I can.
When you get a chance?
Yes.
Okay.
We also, part of why I'm kind of waiting also, is that we, in my notes, it says that we had 5 interviews between March 28th and the 31st for the environmental programs coordinator, which is a brand new position. We ended up having 4 interviews, 2 of which we're going to be bringing back next week to do a second round of interviews. So we're hopeful that we will find someone great to bring onto the team. And also, we knew this was coming. We just didn't know how suddenly it would be coming. One of our parks maintenance staff, John Truen, gave his retirement notice to us with about a week's notice. We knew it was coming this summer, but he just,
Gives a week.
yeah. So we have that position now open, and we've already received probably 3 or 4 applications, and we opened it on Monday of this week. So we wish him well in his retirement, and hope to also find a new great parks maintenance worker. So my goal would be that we get fully staffed and I can bring all 3 people at the same time.
Super. And with that, filling that position, will that bring you to a full staff?
Yes, fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. That's good news. Thank you. Just as an aside, taking my young grandson, who was much younger when the only other time when he came to visit from Indiana, taking them around and showing the community. He was, to say the least, interested in the BMX track and want to know what we're doing there. And so it was kind of exciting to drive by and say, hey, this is where there'll be the BMX track. And, oh, okay, this is great. Of course, my daughter said, and what are you doing about the native species of vegetation and so on? Are you preserving that? My kind of offhand comment was something to the effect, native species here? This place has been scraped clean at sometime or another. And she wanted to know, well, of course you're going to be replanting this stuff. And at that point, I thought maybe another topic of conversation would be appropriate.
Yeah, how about that weather, huh?
Yeah, there we go. How about that weather? So, simply put, it's a delight to be able to bring somebody in from outside and rightfully show off what we have here. And that's, I want to thank you and your staff for doing that for us. All right. Next staff report we have is from our general manager, Pat Kaspari.
Thank you, President Beitman. Did want to add a couple things. As the board is aware, we are trying to schedule a tour of the community forest with Congressman Huffman. John Driscoll asked that, so we want to kind of focus on the community forest. But John Driscoll also asked if there's other things that the board would like to discuss with the congressman, please let me know and I will let him know so he can prep for that. So just ask that you shoot me an email or something. Speaking of the BMX, we're trying to get that going. I was hoping to get it going here in April, and I'm still hopeful we shall see. The 4.5 million gallon tank is still bumping along, and I'm hoping that the rain will end someday, and so we can wrap that up as well. We are out for RFQ on the highway sewer crossing project, trying to get an engineer on that, and those are due back for next Friday. And we are also out for RFQ on an auditor. And those are due on the 18th. So if you know of any auditors, have them check our website and download the RFQ and respond. That's it for me.
Great, thank you. Any questions or comments? President's report. About the only thing that I have to report that's of any meaning you can see by looking at me. I'm just happy to say that all of the reports that I'm getting on this so far are all positive, and I'm glad to be able to be here tonight. Last Thursday, I spent 3.5 hours under general anesthetic. I was being worked on by some very skilled people in our medical community. And that with the support of a very fine group at the University of California at San Francisco. It's amazing. It's just all I want to say. It's just amazing how well integrated our medical community is and how skilled and giving are the members of the community.
And by the looks of it, they got your ears back in the right place too. So
Yeah, they did, as a matter of fact. So that's the only thing I think of any consequence to report. Any board member comments, announcements, reports, or we have an agenda item request?
I just have, I'll be heading to Sacramento in the morning. I've got a California Special Districts Association Finance Corporation meeting tomorrow at 2. And then our board meeting is on Friday at 9:30. Just basic stuff. The Finance Corporation, we're going to be approving a loan for $2.3 million for a cemetery district to buy some capital, buy some capital stuff. But in the big picture stuff, that's we're usually loaning 10, 20, 30, 40, $50 million. So it was a pretty small loan.
Thank you, Greg. I appreciate your service in doing that. Once again, that's very meaningful to us. Are there any other comments or requests or anything? Supervisor Madrone. Thank you. It is greatly appreciated. Anything else that we? Okay. Then at this time, I turned it off. We're at 10 minutes until 8, and I'd like to call for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
It does not require a second or a vote.
Ooh. 4-8 meeting.